Well, guess what? The government of Great Britain just ruled that the film cannot be shown in English classrooms unless it carries a disclaimer that says the film is full of mistakes and propaganda. An overwhelming majority of scientists are now telling us that investigative research shows any warming actually stopped in about 1999. And in fact, they say, the brief warming period we experienced in the past decade was completely natural, caused in part by storms on the sun, not CO2 emissions from SUVs. The sunstorms have now ended, and a cooling period has begun. That's it. Done. Crisis over. Man is not to blame. Hooray! The nation should be rejoicing. No need for expensive green cars, mercury-filled light bulbs, special home building materials, expensive alternative energy, no bird-killing windmills, no special energy taxes, no extra government oversight committees, no more global climate change conferences, and no need for a climate czar. Carol Browner can go back into mothballs. We can finally clean out the 10 feet of fuel in the bottom of the forest to prevent the massive forest fires. We can reestablish the timber industry. We can reestablish the timber industry and all the jobs that were killed. We can drill American oil and end our dependency on foreigners who hate us. And in fact, that stable source of energy and its prices will help restore the Detroit auto industry and all those jobs. And it will help us to stop funding terrorists. What's not to like about drilling American oil? Well, we don't need a stimulus package after all. The economy will rebound on its own. We are free. The environment is not in crisis. Rejoice! Rejoice! That silence you hear is the news media, which refuses to report what any skeptic has to say. That silence you hear is the lack of effort on Capitol Hill to start to pull back from the climate change hysteria. That silence you hear is from the White House, where President of Change, Barack Obama, now has an EPA director, a Council on Environmental Quality director, and a full-blown climate change czar, all working to impose huge cutbacks in energy use, with more taxes and more rules and regulations that will bring our already damaged economy to its knees. All in the name of man-made global warming, which does not exist. And that silence you hear is from global corporations which have bought into Al Gore's lie and invested heavily in the promised green economy. In fact, their dollars are the only thing green about it. Our way of life. Going green is the mantra of the day. None of them are about to change any of those policies simply to accommodate a few inconvenient scientific facts. In spite of all the evidence to the contrary, in spite of literally thousands of real scientists joining the ranks of the skeptics, Al Gore just told Congress that the global warming crisis is even worse than predicted. Obama, our newly crowned king, said, "The science is settled." Well, why do they continue to promote a lie? Because global warming never was about protecting the environment. It's nothing more than the excuse to enforce global governance on the planet by creating a new global economy based on the environment rather than on goods and services. In fact, the most important debate in the history of the United States is about to begin. It's the battle over a completely new economic system based on climate change called cap and trade. It should be called tax and trade, as it will force up the price of every item created or run by energy, from gasoline to toothpaste to natural gas to hotel rooms. as we all sit in our cold, dark houses. Cap and trade will throw out the old system of a free market based on goods and services and operate on the idea that CO2 is a pollutant. Instead of money, wealth will be determined on how many government-issued emissions permits you own to allow you to operate your business. In short, it's all about wealth redistribution, your wealth into a green rat hole. During the Cold War, communists tried to tell us to surrender our liberties and our way of life for the wisdom of Karl Marx. Well, Americans didn't buy that, but now they have taken the same claptrap and wrapped it all in a nice green blanket, scaring us with horror stories about the human destruction of the environment. And so we are now throwing our liberties on the bonfire like a good old-fashioned book burning, all in the name of protecting the environment. It sounds so friendly, so meaningful, so urgent. But the devastation to our liberty and our way of life is the same as if Lenin ordered it. You know, we have a new language invading our government at all levels. Old words with new meanings fill government policy papers. The typical city council meeting discusses community development, historic preservation, and partnerships between city and private businesses. Civic leaders organize community meetings run by facilitators as they outline a vision for the community enforced by consensus. You know, you don't need debate when you've got consensus. People of great importance testify before congressional committees for the dire need of social justice. Free trade, social justice, consensus, global truth, partnerships, preservation, stakeholders, land use, environmental protection, development, diversity, visioning, open space, heritage, comprehensive planning, critical thinking, and community service are all part of the new language. What are they really talking about? What mental pictures come to mind when those words are used? You know, George Orwell realized that those who control language and manipulation, they can manipulate key phrases. They can control policy. The language is being changed and manipulated to quietly implement a very destructive policy, one outlined in a UN soft law document called Agenda 21, first revealed at the UN's Earth Summit in 1992. The working name is Sustainable Development. Rather than good management of resources, sustainable development has come to mean denied use and resources locked away from human hands. In short, it has become a code word for an entire economic and social agenda. Now, I've spent most of the past 12 years or more studying every facet of this new political agenda, which is fast becoming a revolution, touching every aspect of our businesses, our public education system, our private property, our families, and our individual lives. Interestingly, it's not Republican or Democrat. It's not liberal or conservative. It's being implemented by a purely bipartisan basis. It is now the official policy of the United States, put in force by literally every department of the government. It is the official policy of every state government and nearly every city, town, and county in the nation. But I warn you, accepting the perception that sustainable development is simply good environmental stewardship is a serious and dangerous mistake. So what is sustainable development? Well, the sustainabilists insist that society be transformed into feudal-like governance by making nature the central organizing principle for our economy and our society. And to achieve this, sustainabilist policy focuses on three components: global land use, global education, and global population control.